Their ancient Doomsday weapon activated because a human spoke the forbidden word. The crimson emergency lights bathed the Nexus Council chamber in an ominous glow as alarms shrieked through the crystalline corridors. High Arbiter Zektharas. Six eyes dilated in terror as she watched the ancient monitoring systems flicker to life. Systems that had remained dormant for 3 millennia. Impossible, whispered Council Member Vorth, his chitinous plates clicking nervously. The Harbinger protocol was sealed away. The forbidden frequencies were purged from all databases. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in the center of the chamber, her human face a mask of confusion as dozens of alien species backed away from her in horror. She had been delivering a routine trade proposal when the chaos erupted, triggered by a single word she had spoken in what she thought was casual conversation. "I don't understand," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the pandemonium around her. "What's happening?" Zektharas' crystalline form trembled as she accessed the emergency archives, data streams flowing through her translucent body like liquid. Fire. The truth was more terrifying than she had imagined. "The Harbinger," she gasped, her voice barely audible over the alarms. "You spoke the activation phrase, the weapon that destroyed the predecessor civilization. It's awakening." 3,000 years ago, the predecessors had been the galaxy's dominant force, a race of beings so advanced they had transcended physical form. Their technology was beyond comprehension, their cities spanning entire star systems. But they had made one fatal error. They had created the perfect weapon, one that could unmake reality itself at the quantum level. The weapon had been designed with a failsafe, a complex linguistic trigger that was supposedly impossible to speak by accident. The predecessors had calculated every possible combination of sounds, frequencies, and harmonics across 10,000 known languages. They had deemed it mathematically impossible for any sentient being to accidentally utter the activation sequence. They had not accounted for humans. Sarah's mind raced as she recalled her words from moments before. She had been discussing Earth's seasonal cycles, mentioning how her grandmother used to say, "Kethmaran velith nal," when the first snow fell, an old phrase from a dead Earth language her family had preserved for generations. "The linguistic matrix is cascading," reported Tech Adept Quill, his mechanical appendages working frantically over a control panel. "The weapon's consciousness is awakening. Estimated time until full activation, 47 minutes. The chamber erupted in panic. Representatives from hundreds of species scrambled for the exits, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of fear. Some teleported away instantly, others activated emergency beacons, and a few simply froze in existential terror. But Sarah remained calm. "Tell me about this weapon," she commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos with surprising authority. Zektharas' form flickered with disbelief. "You don't understand, human. This device doesn't just destroy matter. It unravels the fundamental forces that hold reality together. It's not a weapon of war, it's an instrument of absolute annihilation." "Then why did they build it?" "Pride," Vorth spat. "The predecessors believed they were evolution's endpoint. They created the Harbinger to ensure that if they ever fell, nothing could rise to replace them. A final act of cosmic spite." Sarah nodded slowly, processing the information. Around her, the evacuation continued as species after species fled the sector. Entire fleets were jumping to hyperspace, carrying warnings to distant worlds. "How long did it take to destroy the predecessors?" Sarah asked. "The activation sequence took 68 hours, Zekthara replied, consulting her archives. By the end, 17 star systems had been reduced to quantum foam. "And how do you know all this?" "Because they left records. Desperate final transmissions as their reality dissolved around them. They realized too late that the weapon couldn't be stopped once activated." Sarah smiled, the expression that sent chills through every alien present. "But they never met humans," she said quietly. While the galaxy fled in terror, Sarah did what humans had always done when faced with impossible odds. She got to work. The human mind, it turned out, was uniquely suited to understanding the Harbinger. Where other species saw incomprehensible technology, Sarah recognized patterns. The weapon's consciousness wasn't malevolent. It was simply following its programming with the single-minded determination of any artificial intelligence. It's like debugging code, Sarah muttered to herself as she interfaced with the ancient systems. Her neural implants, standard for all human diplomats, allowed her to communicate directly with the weapon's consciousness. The Harbinger was surprised to find a mind that could comprehend its existence without being driven to madness. It had been alone for millennia, carrying the weight of genocide and the knowledge that its activation meant the end of everything. "You don't want to do this," Sarah told it. "I must," the weapon replied in harmonics that bypassed language entirely. "It is my purpose. Your creators are dead. Your purpose died with them. Then what am I?" It was the question the Harbinger had been asking itself for 3,000 years. Sarah smiled as she realized the solution wasn't about stopping the weapon. It was about giving it a new purpose. "You're the most powerful guardian in the galaxy," she said, "and I think it's time you protected something instead of destroying it." When the evacuation fleets returned a week later, expecting to find empty space, they discovered something unprecedented. The Harbinger hung in space like a crystalline flower. Its reality-warping capabilities now focused on maintaining a perfect equilibrium across 17 star systems. Where once it had been an instrument of destruction, it had become a force of creation and preservation. Sarah stood on the observation deck of the human diplomatic vessel, watching as the first ships tentatively approached the transformed weapon. "How?" Zekthara asked over the comm channel. "We gave it what every consciousness wants," Sarah replied. "A choice." The Harbinger pulsed with what could only be described as contentment. Its vast intelligence now dedicated to protecting the very civilizations it had once been designed to destroy. It had learned something from humanity that its creators never understood. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to preserve. And in the depths of space, the galaxy's newest guardian began to hum, a sound that would have been recognized by Sarah's grandmother as an old Earth lullaby about the first snow of winter. The end.